Welcome to East Coast Averages, the podcast that brings you stories from everyday people from all around the world. Recorded on the east coast of Australia, I'm your host Nick, and each week we'll sit down with average people who have unique stories to tell. Let's peek over the back fence and see what's happening in other people's lives. I never know what I'm going to discover until I sit down and start chatting to them. Thanks for coming back to listen to Lyndsey and Yogi, the story behind the bear's head. She's finished uni, she's taken a year off, she's just worked for that year, and she continues on with the story. We just finished uni?
Yeah, we just finished uni.
You've just gotten a job?
Yeah, I think I just worked in shops and stuff. Like, I just worked for a year trying to work out what I was going to do. And
so, just refresh my memory. You said in uni you were leaning towards
being a costume designer.
Yeah. Yep. Was there something about that you liked?
I don't know. I can't remember what triggered it. I think, back at school when I did Rocker Stefford.
Oh, the Rocker Stefford, that's right. Yeah. Yes, that's sort of got you into that.
When I did Rocker Stefford, I was in it. I was on the stage, but I always used to look at the people that were backstage and thinking they were having they were just having so much more fun
than
because they weren't having to wear the costumes. They were just out the back doing their thing. You know, they seem to be having more fun.
A little bit less pressure, out on the back?
Yeah.
Because all your pressure is before the performance.
Yeah.
Because you get all the costumes
done.
Yeah.
So during Rocker Stefford, I remember thinking I'd like to do some sort of backstage stuff. And then years later, I go to art school. As I'm finishing art school, I'm starting to think more maybe I should have gone to theatre school. Sort of was where I was.
That was more.
Leaning.
That would have been more to stage production and costumes.
So I looked around and thought, how am I going to do this? So discovered there was a really cool course at NIDA. Now, obviously that's the National Institute of Dramatic Art. That's where a lot of our famous actors have been, and they had a lot of production courses. So costume design, set design, all of that stuff, sound, everything, directing, choreography. They did more than just acting.
Way more than just.
Yeah.
But we just hear about the actors.
Yeah. So I looked into that and thought, but it looked really hard to get into. They only accepted in the costume part that I wanted to go to, they only accepted 4 people a year.
Well, that's not many people, is it? How many? Do you know how many people were put in for it a year?
I don't know.
But it would have been
a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, so again, sometimes a little bit of naivety goes a long way, because if you think too much about something, you might just talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, fuck it, I'm going to apply for NIDA. I'm going to go to NIDA.
I'm going to fucking NIDA.
Yep.
Hey, that's the attitude you've got to have sometimes.
You've got to have it sometimes. So
why can't you go to NIDA?
Correct. Why can't I fucking go to NIDA?
That's like the book I was telling you about, the book with no answers, man. The episode, have a listen to it, Rob Miola. That's what he basically says in the
Correct.
book. Why the fuck can't Lyndsey go to NIDA?
No, seriously, this is what I'm saying. Like, while I think a lot of people may think, coming from a disadvantaged background, poor background, crappy schools growing up, sometimes that's not a bad thing, because you don't know to think, oh, actually, that's not for me. You just think, fuck it, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
So a bit of naivety goes a long way sometimes. So I applied for NIDA and I put together a little portfolio and I got an interview. Anyway, I went and had my interview, and these very posh theatre people interviewed me.
Is getting an interview a big thing as well?
I think so. I think my art degree stood me in good stead.
To get the interview?
To get the interview. And anyway, I sat down, I had my interview, and they said to me, look, we really like you. You've got the right personality. You've got the creative mind, blah, blah, blah. They said, but you want to make costumes, you want to be a costume designer, can you use a sewing machine? I was like, well, won't I learn that here? And they're like, no, you need to know that. And I was like, fuck. There's a thought.
So you wanted to be a costume. So you were going to do a course where the pre-learning, you would have got the pre-learning at home and gone, you must be able to sew, and gone, oh, fuck.
So I assumed that would be something they would teach me, but clearly no.
See, I would have thought that would be something they'd teach as well.
I could sew a little bit, and I was a keen, awesome crochet person, had been since I was a kid, but sewing and pattern making and actual skills were not something I had.
Yeah, because that's a skill in itself.
It is a huge skill.
Reading the pattern and
making a pattern, adjusting a pattern.
Anyway, is that what they were going to teach you in NIDA? Or
no, that's They wanted people that were already on top of their game.
Yep.
So in a humbling move, instead of going to NIDA that year, I went to Blacktown TAFE and learnt sewing and pattern making and cutting.
Yep.
And that was a real industry-based course. It was designed for people that were going to go and work in the bonds factory or those sorts of things. So even though that wasn't what I wanted to do.
I was an apprentice electrician years ago, and I remember going into a factory to do a job, and a guy had this big like movable saw, and he had this big like paper on a table, and he was cutting patterns.
1,000 layers of fabric,
and he was cutting. And is that the sort of thing you were learning?
No, not quite. But it was in that direction. So I learnt how to use industrial machines, how to use industrial equipment, industrial overlockers.
Yep.
And in that year, I also spent a lot of time, my own time, mastering the art of how to sew garments. Yeah.
Yep.
So that was a year at Blacktown TAFE, which I learnt a huge amount. Like, they were awesome. I learnt so much, skill-based. And they were really good because you had to do work experience, and they sent a lot of people off to these bond factories and things like that. But they were really good. They sent me to Opera Australia to spend a week there.
They knew that you wanted to go into that.
Yeah, so they sent me to Opera Australia for a week, which was a huge eye-opener. And while I was there...
A good eye-opener? As in, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, yes and no. There were things I saw that I went, I definitely don't want to do that. I definitely don't like that bit, but I really like what they're doing over there. So all the little skills like milliners and people that worked on just beading and like all those little specialist skills, it was a really good eye-opener. And having to catch the train into the city, going into Surrey Hills was really cool. And handling old costumes, old opera costumes that people were... they'd pull one out of the vault and go, well, this is like 2 sizes too big, we're going to fix that. And seeing how costumes are made so differently to garments. Phenomenal.
So it's actually a different...
Oh, very different.
So they're made in a way that can be changed.
Yeah, you can alter them quickly. The seams are sewn together differently, so you can take it up or down a size.
So you could, if I was the stand-in and I'm a size 38 and the guy doing the show is a 34, you could change that.
Yeah.
You could get a call and say, hey, Lyndsey, fucking such got a cold.
So
in comes Nikki J.
Yes or
He's
no?
a bit fatter.
Yeah, it depends. It depends. But it would be like you'd probably make one costume per season, but you might pull one out of the vault and go, we'll adjust that so we're not starting from scratch.
Yeah.
But we can adjust the seams, we can adjust the cuff length, whatever it is. Yeah. So and different terms of lining and how they're going to be cleaned and laundered. So I learnt in my week there, I was like, wow. And I also went to a place called Motley Costume Hire and Design in Sydney for a week. That was a pivotal moment for me because the people I met there were just awesome. And they were motley. It was a fucking motley crew of weirdos that I to this day am still in contact with and love.
Yep.
And have a huge connection with. And so...
What did they do?
They were a big costume house in Sydney.
So a filmmaker might ring them up and say...
Correct. So
we're
they
doing
a
1950s
film. So there was a
need...
costume hire section that the general public could come and go.
Yep.
But they also hired to people doing ads, people doing theatre, people doing movies. And they had a big workroom in the back that had like big tables, sewing machines, presses, the whole thing, and costumes and fabric, and it was a mess and it was unorganised. And they had an amazing woman that rented a space in there called Jean, who I will tell you about, who is a milliner, so she made hats.
Was there one guy in there, you said everything's all over the place, was there one guy who'd go, hey, where's this and that? And he'd go, yeah, over there, third bead of fabric, under that. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. John.
He knew where it all was.
Yep. John, the manager. Yep. Tony, the owner, and you guys can, they may listen to this, and I'm not speaking out of turn here. They know this is the truth. Tony had shit everywhere, and whenever he went away, we'd clean it up. But John, the manager, knew where everything was. Anyway, so I did work experience there as well, and very different to Opera Australia, much more my cup of tea. So went back to TAFE, had great work experience, knew yes. Now, in that time, I managed to put a better portfolio together. And at the end of that year, I got into NIDA.
Oh, so you actually went to NIDA too?
Yeah, I did.
Well, fuck me. I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Because that's big in Australia. Everybody knows. If you say, oh, NIDA, they go, oh, yeah, fuck, we know. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you went there?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I went to NIDA. Again, typical Lyndsey life, shit hits fan. I did my first year of NIDA, and it wasn't quite what I wanted, but it was still... It was NIDA.
If you went through NIDA, you were pretty much guaranteed a job in the film industry.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. Yes
and no, but mate, if you were
it puts you in much better stead. Yeah. So I was going through there, and I started to lose a lot of weight, and I thought it was the long hours. I thought it was the living away from my home and living in the city, but something was not right.
Some skanky illness is coming up.
Some fucking skanky illness
is about
called Graves' disease.
Yeah, I've heard of Graves' disease.
Yeah, it attacks your thyroid.
Yeah.
So
got a friend's daughter's got Graves' disease, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible. So being a 24-year-old at the time, this was not something that's common. So having an overactive thyroid is something that generally happens to women in their 40s. So it took them a really long time to diagnose me. Now, keep in mind, I'm doing 12, 13-hour days at NIDA. I'm not following up on doctor's appointments. I'm 24.
Yeah.
I'm busy. I'm trying to get through, pulling all-nighters, doing theatre shows. Yep. This is the life of NIDA.
Was the uni culture more to your liking at NIDA than it was
very much
at
so.
UWS?
I think they're both what they were. Like UWS, I spent a lot of time at the uni bar getting stoned, being silly, painting pictures, whatever. NIDA was very much more disciplined, but by that time, you know what you want.
You've sort of grown up a little bit too.
Yeah. So I still have some issues with some of the culture around NIDA and how they conduct business, but they get results, let's face it. So I was getting progressively sicker and sicker and ignoring it, going, no, this took me a long time to get here.
Yeah, I'm going to finish it.
I'm finishing this. But it got to a point where I couldn't. And they finally diagnosed me with Graves' disease, and I was really unwell by that stage, like really fucking sick. I had damage to my eyes. I had, my neck was just, my voice box was getting squashed.
Squashed by your thyroid. Were you developing a goiter?
My heart rate was through the roof. I was always hot. I had lost so much weight that I was probably 50 kilos. I'm now 70. So, and I always was a little.
Yeah, you're not very tall.
No, I'm not tall, but I was really skinny. Like I looked terrible. So I finally got a diagnosis, and it got to the point where I'm like, I can't continue this. I've got to get better. And so I had to have radioactive iodine treatment. Had 2 of those, and it took 12 months to get better.
Back to, did you end up going back to NIDA?
No, I didn't.
No. Yep. Did they allow you to if you wanted to?
Yeah, they were trying to make big. To their credit, they tried really hard. But the way the course is designed, you've got to go through.
Go with it. Yeah.
So it would have had to be start again, and I wasn't doing that. And I kind of got to a point where I was like, I'm 25 now. I want to actually just get out there.
Yeah.
So
do you reckon you'd learn enough in NIDA?
Yeah, I think so. Well, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I'd learned to know enough about what I didn't want to do and what I did want to do. So I came out of my illness and was like, well, fuck, I've got to actually get a job. I do want to make costumes. I do want to design costumes. I don't want to go and work in theatre itself. Like I find that a bit naff for me. So living still in Western Sydney.
Naff? You have to explain that one.
Oh, a little bit pompous.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never heard that expression, naff.
Yeah, a little bit.
Naff.
A little bit serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like things a little bit more
casual.
Casual, a bit more fun, a bit more stupid. So living still in Western Sydney, like obviously I'd moved out of the city. I was living with my partner. We had a house in Mount Druitt near both our families. And I was like, I really need a job. So I put together a resume. In those days, you did it on your computer and you printed it out at the chemist or wherever you could find a printer, the post office. And I sent it to lots of places that I thought might have a costume department. So one of those places, like I did send it out to a lot of theatre companies, but one of the places I sent it to was Wonderland Sydney.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, they were walking around in costumes there, yeah.
And within
That was a great place, man.
Oh, it was tops.
They should still have that there, eh? But they need to build it like next to Panthers.
Yeah.
I reckon they put, the water slide, John.
Oh, yeah.
They should have stuck that out in Panthers too.
Yeah.
It's in the bad spot.
Bad
if
spot.
it was beside Panthers, yeah. But
So,
Australia's Wonderland was good fun.
Yeah, it was. It was really good. And it was down the road. And I used to go there as a teenager, so I was quite familiar with it. So I sent it to Wonderland Sydney. And I got a phone call about a week later from their HR department saying, oh, hey, Lyndsey, we got your application for the dressing position. Now, a dresser is someone who stands backstage and when people run off, you change them. You get their wardrobe organised, you do those things. So not actually sitting and making or designing, but you're in. And I said, oh, okay. I said, I didn't know there was an actual position. I just sent you my CV on the off chance. She goes, oh, cool, come in for an interview. So I went in for an interview and she said, it's between you and one other person, and did my interview, got home. They rang me that afternoon and said, you're in.
Yep.
So that was the start of my costume career
so
at Wonderland Sydney.
And how long were you working there for?
I was there for a while.
I don't actually recall watching any shows there. I was too busy
Yeah,
going on the rides.
so they were Takarama, but God, they were good. So learning how to maintain character suits like Yogi Bear costume, Fred Flintstone stuff.
Yeah.
And if they had a promotion, Hanna-Barbera Land. So I had to, when the Flintstones movie came out, Wonderland did a whole thing in conjunction with that because they had the Flintstones sort of stuff.
Yep.
So we got to make all the costumes. They had to be a copy of what was in the movie. So that was really cool. Got to make all of those, learn the ins and outs of that stuff, learn how to maintain costumes really well, like trying to wash a character suit. There's ways and means. There's things you don't do. You don't put certain things in washing machines because I did that, fucked it up and was like, oh, fuck. I fucked Yogi. Like his head's...
I don't know. I don't want to know what you did.
Can we edit that bit out?
No,
edit that bit out.
I don't want to know what you did to Yogi Bear out the back. Thanks very much, Lyndsey.
No, I did. I put things in washing machines that I shouldn't have.
Your partner at the time said, what are you bringing home this fucking Yogi Bear head for, Lyndsey?
I got to fix it.
Are you a furry, Lyndsey?
I am not a furry.
Don't be afraid.
I'm seriously, that is the weirdest fucking shit. I don't know how anyone can do that. Those things are super hot.
Yeah, there's lots of... let's not say they're weird, but everyone's got their little...
Everyone's got their thing. No, but logistically, I don't know how anyone could be a furry because it's too hot. Western Sydney...
I thought they just stuck
Yogi Bear costume.
Up their bum and that was it.
Oh, my God.
Pranced around with the tail up their bum.
So...
Maybe we're looking at the wrong furry. The wrong furries, mate.
So, apart from the Yogi Bear stuff...
Hey, boo-boo. Hey, boo-boo.
That was really good. But they had these weird, like... Because they had different lands at Wonderland.
Come and have a look in my picnic basket.
Stop it. They had... oh, my God. I'm trying so hard. But they had different lands. So they had, like, Outback.
Yeah.
So they had, like, the guys that did the cowboy where they had, like, blue cattle dogs and they do sheep rounding up shows and stuff like that. So even looking after their costumes. And then they had this magic show called The Magic of Tony and Jolene. Now, that was like something out of Vegas.
I must have just gone and...
It was like they were quite well known and they were from Queensland and it was typical, chicks in G-strings doing, magician's assistant shit. He'd come out and it was a bit David Copperfield, a bit what are those two guys that have the lions?
Oh,
Siegfried and Roy.
Siegfried and Roy,
It's a little bit like that. It was really tacky but really fun. And their costumes were a bit over the top. And after a while and working behind the scenes as their dressers.
Would they come from Queensland? Would they bring their own costumes?
Yeah, no. So they brought their show, but we then would maintain and add to it. And so after working backstage with them for a while, and then they realised that I had been to NIDA, done a degree in visual art, they said to me, Lyndsey, can you design our new costumes? Because they were about to have an upgrade. And so that didn't go down too well with the wardrobe department that I was technically working in, but fuck it.
Yeah.
I did it anyway.
Yeah.
And so I redesigned.
Did they pay you separately?
Yeah. So I got I got to be their costume designer. And
Did you leave Australia's Wonderland to
No.
do that? You did both?
I still did both, but it was sort of something I just did on the side. And Australia's Wonderland, the wardrobe department were a bit like, who does she think she is? But they were like, no, this is what we want. And because they were the big draw card, they got what they want.
Yeah, they said, well, if we don't have Lyndsey, we're going back to Movie World.
Yeah.
We're going back up to Dreamworld.
I got to do that. And that was really good fun. And I also got to work on a show called Action Man Live. That was really cool. That was like
at Wonderland. I don't think I've
at
seen
Wonderland.
That one.
So Action Man was like an action figure that was like,
oh no, Action Man.
Action Man is like I don't know him that well, but they brought the Action Man show, and again it was very licensed, so you had to make all the costumes within a licensing agreement. So learning all that stuff was really cool. So I worked at Wonderland for about.
Excuse me real quick whilst I drop an ad on you, and then we'll be back to the show. Hey, East Coast Average listeners. If you're a cat lover searching for a t-shirt that combines creativity with style, check out graphicoasisco.com. There you'll find unique designs featuring whimsical cats, steampunk themes and inspirational quotes. Each shirt there is made with vibrant colours, sharp lines, and you'll look fantastic while showcasing your personality. So go and visit graphicoasisco.com and use East Coast Averages at checkout to get 15% off your first order. Elevate your wardrobe with graphicoasisco.com. Let your shirt do the talking. Talking about the tacky shows, when I went on a cruise last year, I was expecting the shows to be really tacky.
No, they're good.
Oh man, the production.
Yeah.
I watched some shows.
It's come a long way.
I watched some shows in the fucking theatre of this ship that were just as good. I remember seeing Annie years and years ago at the casino, and they were just as good. If I was really, really impressed at the quality of the show.
Yeah. So casino cruise ship shows have definitely come a long way.
Yeah.
So I went while I was at Wonderland. They were being bought out by some consortium from overseas. So there was a lot of changes going on. So the wardrobe department was getting changed dramatically. So I left Wonderland, and it was I know it was at the year 2000 because I was out of work for the 2 weeks the Sydney Olympics were on, which is great. I stayed at home and watched the Olympics, watched Kathy Freeman.
Did you go to the Olympics as
No,
well?
I didn't.
I was in the stadium when she got disqualified for the walk-in.
Oh,
and it was
that
really
was
strange.
heartbreaking.
It was strange. There's like 80-odd thousand people there, and she came in, and it was like we didn't really know what was happening, and the whole crowd is like, hang on.
Yeah.
Like the whole crowd is going absolutely mental, and all of a sudden it just went.
Oh, and you know who? You know what? I always felt sorry for the poor guy that had to walk out and do that.
Yeah.
Imagine I'd be like, fucking, I'm not doing it. You do it.
I know, man. Like,
Imagine that's your job.
I know that's.
You'd be saying to the other guys, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
No, you do it. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, that was heartbreaking.
Watching him walk out, I was like, no. Anywho.
Because I don't remember, all I remember is hearing the crowd screaming and then the crowd just went, boo.
Yeah.
And so we didn't actually see the person walk out. But anyway, I was in the stadium that day. That's the only day I went to the Olympics when it was on.
So, I watched that from home while I was, I'd finished up at Wonderland and was like, where am I going to work now? So, while I was at home, I had a girl that had worked at Wonderland with me had gone and got a job at Motley Costume Hire where I had done work experience when I was at TAFE. And I said to her, I sent her a message and said, I've left Wonderland, blah, blah, blah. And she said, we're
looking for someone.
Tony's looking for someone. So I gave him a ring. And he goes, Lyndsey, I remember you came in and did a week's blah, blah, blah. He said, come on in. So
you got the job.
I got the job
over the phone.
Yep, over the phone. I went in. I started at the front of the shop, just helping with the because at that time they only needed someone to work in the hire section.
Yep.
And I was like, fuck it, I'll just take whatever I've got. And within a few months, I was out the back making costumes, and I worked there pretty much full time. And that was what I would call my big apprenticeship because I worked on everything from gangster suits, bias cut dresses, Marilyn Monroe dresses.
What's a bias cut dress?
So a bias cut dress is so can you imagine a woman out of, say, The Great Gatsby, that sort of period, beautiful, where dresses really just cling to them. Instead of cutting a dress, so when you look at fabric, imagine a sheet or just a piece of fabric, the weave goes that way and that way. So you've got your warp and your weft.
Yep.
So fabric is woven. Now, if you turn that on its side, so I'm doing actions here to explain this to you.
Yeah, so it's on.
So if it's on a 45-degree angle,
Yep.
but you cut the pattern straight,
So
it's called
the threads. Yeah,
the threads are diagonal.
Okay, yep.
That is a bias cut, and it is fucking hard work. And to sew bias,
it's hard to get it to sew through the machine.
yeah,
properly
because it stretches. It has a real stretch. So bias cut is incredibly difficult. I find it difficult.
Why do they use bias cut?
Because it hangs so beautifully on a body.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
So it looks better.
Yeah. So only certain outfits, but that real 1940s kind of slinky bias cut, it's beautiful and expensive because you're using twice as much fabric because you're not optimizing your fabric. Yeah. So I learned how to do things like that, use all kinds of fabrics. And we got lots and lots of contract work for cruise ships, for ads. We did costumes for movies that were filmed in Sydney, not main costumes, but all the background stuff. So I was there.
Is it still there today?
No. So I worked there for a long time, on and off, and I got to work with an amazing woman called Jean Carroll, who at the time was probably in her 80s, early 80s, and she was one of the most, if not the most respected milliners, theatrical milliners at the time, and she was awesome. And we just became friends. I was never going to be a milliner. That was not where my skill set worked, but working with her was just fun. She was just a cool woman that had started her apprenticeship as a milliner back in 50 years ago.
She was still doing it.
Yeah. And she said, "Oh yeah, I worked here, and then of course the Opera House opened, so we all went and worked down there." Like she was old school, and that was a real privilege to work with her, and I worked with her when she got her OAM, and
Did you learn some hat making skills?
Yeah. I worked on lots of things with her. I worked on some good shows with her. Like I didn't do anything too technical. Like I'd come and sit down with her and sew lots and lots of the same thing. And she was just good fun. But I learned a lot about millinery working with her.
Yep.
And that was when the costume side of Motley was a bit slow, and Tony would be like, "Oh, I don't have a lot of work." I'd go, "That's all right." I'd go and work over with Jean, and she'd pay me for my time there. So that was a good couple of years I worked there.
Did you make all right money doing that?
No.
That was pretty...
Shit money.
Shit money.
Yeah. But what I learnt there was amazing, and I met really good people, and I met people that I just gelled with and clicked with and loved, and I'm still in contact with today. And I've been to too many funerals of those people. But I've also...
They were a bit older than you, were
they?
Yeah.
But
and Jean,
I also...
Jean is obviously passed away.
Yeah, she passed away. Oh, God.
Would have that made the public domain?
Yes.
When she,
her funeral was phenomenal.
I think I remember hearing the name, and I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I actually conducted her funeral. Yeah, because we haven't got to the part where I become a marriage celebrant yet, but...
I see you're a marriage celebrant.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be a two-parter.
Sorry.
This is going to be a two-parter, East Coast Averages.
Sorry. So I was working at Motley, met all these amazing people, and really, fabulous gay guys, amazing technicians that were really good at their craft, just really cool people. Yeah, fun people. And I loved being there. And it was a really beautiful old building, Art Deco building that was probably built in the 40s in Sydney, right in the middle of Sydney, parquetry floors, taps that, weird smells came out of when you turned it on. And
did the whole place have that, I really like that old musty fabric smell. I remember going into like shops as a kid, and it had that bit of a smell, like it was a bit old.
And a really old lift to get up to it that you always thought, am I going to actually die in this lift? Oh, well, let's see. Really good old lift. Right near the corner of Chinatown. So during Chinese New Year, we'd see the dragons come down, and it was cool.
So
cool place to work.
You weren't working there really to make a shitload of money. You just liked working there.
Yeah, it was just fun.
Yeah.
Learnt heaps, got to do heaps of stuff.
Did you move into the city, or you just commuted every day?
No, I commuted, yeah. So I moved to the mountains while I was working there, actually, yeah, because I had lived in Sydney when I was at NIDA, and then I moved back to Mount Druitt after that while I was working at Wonderland because it's close. So we stayed there for a while, and then then moved to the mountains while I was at Motley. It was a good time. Loved being there. But yeah, so while I was there is when I got the job at High Five.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah. So
Were you sad to leave there?
Yeah.
But
very much.
This was another opportunity to get into the behind-the-scenes TV.
Yeah. So I had a friend that I'd been at NIDA with that had been working for High Five, which was Channel 9, and she messaged me and said, hey, I'm going overseas. They're going to be looking for someone. I've given them your number. And I was like, tops. And because I'd done so much stuff at Motley, which was kind of silly stuff like animal costumes and caveman and, crazy
sort
shit.
Of right up the alley of other kids' music show.
My girth of experience was quite broad. And I'd used lots of different types of fabrics and done things that for cruise ships and stuff that was all a bit silly. So that it was definitely up my alley. Anyway, so I contacted the art director and he was like, we had a chat on the phone and he's like, yeah. And he goes, obviously I'll have to interview you at some point. And I said, okay, do you want me to come in to the studio at Channel 9? And he said, oh, no, because we're not filming at the moment. I'm actually working down at Darling Harbour. I think he was doing something at Star City. And I went, I'm just down the road at Motley. That's where I'm working now. And he goes, oh, I know where that is. We've hired costumes from there. Can I come in? And so I said to my boss, Tony, do you mind if I get interviewed for another job while I'm here? And he goes, no, he can come in. That's fine. So, Graham came in and we met and we sat in the lunchroom at Motley and we just discussed
what they wanted you to do.
Yeah. And I said, do you want me to take you around and show you some of the things I've made? And he's like, yeah. So we went around and I said, I made this gorilla outfit. I made that. I made this bias cut dress, all these things. And I introduced him to Jean, who was sitting there with her millinery stuff. And at the time, I think I might have even been helping Jean. We were making hats for a Nintendo ad, which was a bit weird. It was, I don't know, I don't remember the ad, but I remember we were making hats for dwarfs. Can we say that? Is that the word we use? Little people?
So. Yeah,
little people.
Yeah.
And because their body shape is quite different, like that was a really interesting job. So I'd been doing that and I said to Graham, we're making these hats for this Nintendo ad. And he goes, I bet my mate's in that. And he was.
His mate was in it?
Yeah. So we ended up chatting about that and I showed him all the stuff and I said, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he said, all right, that all sounds good. I said, so when do you think you'll let me know? And he goes, you're hired. You're fine. So I went and when they started filming the next season, I went and worked it.
And when you were working for High Five, did they give you the song and say come up with the costume, or did they say we want it to have this look?
Yeah, no.
Like
so
the choreographer,
obviously there was a script, and there was parameters to work in. So the parameters I was sort of given were they need to wear costumes that fit the script. So it'll be Charlie's dressed as a robot. So I would have to come up with some sort of robot costume that she had to be able to move around in and work in.
And dance and sing.
But it also couldn't be so it had to be so a mum at home could copy it.
Oh, I see what you mean.
That was the sort of...
the little girl said, I want to be...
Yeah, can you make me what Charlie's wearing?
You could.
The mum could sort of mock one up. Part of me was like, good luck, mum. Like, I've spent years working out how to do this. But yes, that was the...
little kids don't care.
Little kids don't care.
Yeah.
So a lot of it wasn't like full costumes. It was like, so they had their sort of street clothes on that the stylist would go and buy or borrow or whatever. So they would have their trendy outfit on and then I would put stuff over the top. Like I remember making a Kookaburra outfit for one of them and I just put it on a baseball cap and made it that way. So they still have their face and they can put their mic on or anything like that.
Yeah,
but
neither of my kids like the music shows like Wiggles or High
Yeah,
Five.
Rex isn't into it either.
They just did not like it at all.
Yeah.
I put them on a couple of times.
Yeah.
No interest.
I've tried so hard to impress my child with it. He couldn't give a shit.
Yeah.
He thinks it's as boring as Batshit.
It's funny that,
But the weird thing is I thought it was really good. Like I had no concept because I didn't have a kid. So I had no concept of children's television other than what I'd grown up with, which was all a bit you know.
Saturday morning.
Yeah,
What was it, Ralph and the Sunday?
Yeah, and things
Sunday
like
Telegraph show or something.
Humphrey Bear and stuff like that.
Humphrey
Fat
B.
Cat.
Bear was classic, man.
Yeah,
I've
but I never found
I've got
it.
a Humphrey B. Bear out in the back shed.
But I always found it really stupid. Like, but anyway, I really liked High Five. I liked how it was very physically active. It was inclusive. The whole premise was everyone's included. The songs were pretty cool. They were written by a songwriter, and they're really catchy. And
so they hired their own songwriter.
There was a whole production team, and so my job would be.
It was around for a long time.
It was a long time. Yeah. So I would get the breakdown of the script so the art director would go and have a meeting with the writer and the producer and blah, blah, and he'd come back to the art department. He'd go, right, Lyndsey, and we'd sit through and highlight everything that I had to make. So a bit like Motley, there was a huge amount of costumes already there. And a bit like the opera, and you'd go, oh, okay, there's the robot costume that I used last month. I'll modify that. So instead of making it fit Nathan, I'll make it fit Charlie.
And that was like a cost-saving thing as well?
Just time-saving, cost-saving, yeah.
Did you have a budget to work in that you...
Probably, but I don't remember. I just used to ask for stuff. And they had lots and lots of fabric and materials and so much stuff in this big warehouse that we worked out of. It was really cool. So, yeah, I'd rummage through and find what I could to make things. And then other times I'd say, we had a buyer and I'd say to her, can you get me some bright pink fabric?
Blue velvet.
Yeah, blue velvet or pink glittery fur because I've got to make whatever. So I remember one of the first costumes I had to make, they were all bees. And so Kelly was the queen bee. And so I had to make her a queen bee and the others bees. And so I just used black and yellow stripy fur and I made little vests, really basic. And again, these things are going to be worn for 5 minutes. They don't have to be on a stage where they're going to be washed every night. These are just...
So you would they were tacked together
really quickly. So I made the boys, Kathleen and Charlie, just these little vests that they could wear over their clothes. And I made Kelly more like a little sort of bodice type with a crown and a big tulle skirt, so she was definitely the queen bee. And that was one of the first things I made for them, and I was really happy with that.
Was that cool when you saw it on the telly? Like you'd watch it at home and think, I made that,
So
man.
I didn't see it on TV for about a year because they film it, and then it took about a year before I saw it on TV. And I did.
Did your name come up in the credits?
Yeah. It was really cool. So, and I had my own credit. So a lot of it was like art department, 3 or 4 names, props department, 3 or 4. But I had my own credit, costume props designer. You could probably still Google it.
Are you happy to have your last name go on the pod?
Yeah.
No, I'll cut that out.
Yeah, cut that out. Yeah. So yes, I got my own credit, costume props designer, and then my name.
Yep.
So that was really cool, and to see that, and to see my stuff on TV.
They could probably work out your name anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll cut your name out.
Yeah. But look, I mean, at the end of the day,
it was good.
It was such a good thing, and I had my friends over, and
so the first one that you knew was going to be on.
Yeah, we watched it at home. Yeah. It was so funny,
and
it wasn't everyone. It was just like me. I think my sister was there, and the kids from down the street. Now, the kids from down the street actually got really disappointed because they thought I was going to be in it.
Oh, what's this, Lyndsey?
Yeah.
We thought we were going to see you.
Yeah, they thought I was going to be in it.
Big deal. It's a fucking...
Hilarious.
I don't care about the bee costume.
Yeah. When do you come on? And I'm like, no.
Did you actually ever get on?
No. Because they didn't put anyone else on. But
I was just thinking, you know how like the daytime television back in the day, you know, Bert Newton show?
But,
remember that dude Belvedere that used to always do the little poems when he ate?
Oh, yeah,
He'd have the food and then do the poem. Anyway, I was at the cricket one night. He obviously was working for the production company that films the cricket. And Kez and I, hey, Belvedere! He turned around like, it's like, yeah, that's the 250-year-old.
Yeah. So
I thought if it was something like that, you probably would have.
No, but what was fun would be, so once I had to dress Kelly and Tim as folk singers from like the 70s. And so I had crocheted myself years before this amazing blue glittery poncho that I used to wear to work at Motley, sit on the train. It was like beautiful. I still have it. And so I took that in and put Kelly in that. And So seeing my own things like that, that's pretty funny. And I still have that poncho. I haven't worn it for years. Maybe I'll wear it. Yeah.
Get it out, mate.
Yeah.
Get it out. Be proud.
Get it out.
Yeah.
Get it out.
And you're still friends with all the guys? Cause
not all of them. Like I'm
they
still
were,
Facebook friends with some of them.
It was the same guys in that show for pretty much the whole thing, wasn't it?
And then when that sort of came to a few things changed because it wasn't owned by Channel 9. It was just it had its own producer. I may be wrong here, but we filmed in a separate studio. So
they filmed it and sold it to
and then I think when Channel 9 actually took it over is when the cast was starting to leave. Like I was there when Kathleen went off to have a baby and and she was replaced by Sun Park. And then
so they weren't leaving because they didn't like the show. It's just they've been doing it for so long.
Yeah,
they've grown up and it was time to move on to the next part.
Yeah. I remember saying to Nathan once, "How long do you reckon you're going to be able to do this for?" And he said to me, "Mate, when you're putting me in a skivvy, it's time to go." And so,
did you put him in a skivvy?
No.
I fucking hate skivvies.
Yeah.
My fucking mum would buy skivvies, eh?
Yeah, I know. The word. I have never worn a skivvy.
You have these fucking brown fucking skivvies.
I had to wear a yellow one to primary school.
Yeah.
Horrible. I can't have anything on my neck.
And then my mum would cut a fucking triangle in the neck so we'd wear it. Who the fuck?
I fucking hate skivvies.
Who invented the skivvy?
I don't know, but they're horrible. And there's nothing more unattractive than a man in a skivvy.
Oh,
this is just putting it out there, guys.
Don't wear a skivvy.
There's a movie with Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock. What's it
even
called?
He doesn't look good in a skivvy.
Yeah, he's got a skivvy. It's not Speed. It's the one they did years later.
Fucking but in the
time traveling one or whatever it is.
Oh, I know what it is. They're in the fucking cabin or something.
Yeah. That one.
Yeah.
He's got a skivvy. Bad.
So he's not a bad looking dude.
Not in a don't wear a skivvy. Yeah.
I just remember my mum, you'd put this skivvy on, you'd be fucking be dragging it off your neck going, I can't fucking breathe, mum. So the compromise was she'd cut a fucking triangle. Cut a triangle. Well, just put a fucking T-shirt on me. Or you couldn't go to school without a Bonds fucking singlet on, for fuck's sake. It's like, God, you'll be cold. You'll be cold. No, I won't.
No, I'm going to be running around because I'm a kid.
Yeah, bloody Bonds fucking singlet.
No, they would but that was right at the end. Like I kind of stayed. I was there for about 4 seasons. But it's like
was that better
any
money
job.
than working?
Oh yeah.
That was. Was that like? Do you make good money in the costume departments in the TV industry?
You don't make good money, but the
conditions? Is it better conditions? Like
it's one of those things because I spent a lot of time as a freelance. Like so, High Five was a contract. You'd get a contract for 4 months while they filmed it.
So then you wouldn't get it. You'd be out
there
of
was
work
no
for 8
consistency.
months.
No consistency. So I would often go back to Motley.
So you wouldn't make enough money in that 4 months to not work for 8 months.
No, but I made enough money to put a deposit on my house. It took a few. But because you make a lot of money in a short amount of time, but then you've got to be really careful because you might not have any work. But the problem with costume design is like, and being a freelance is you either have no work or too much, and then you go, I better take that job that I really don't want, making 30 fucking pirate shirts for some production company, because if I don't, I'm not going to have any income.
Yep.
So you commit.
So if you committed to a 30 pirate shirts, what sort of money would you charge? Back then for 30 pirate shirts.
Back then, I don't know.
But you'd have to buy the material yourself.
Yeah, so you put all that in, like, and you have to charge. And this is the thing, right? It can get really tricky because people are like, why does it cost so much? It's like, well, it's going to take me a day to go down to the supplier, get the fabric, get the cotton, all those things.
Yeah.
Probably buy a new pair of scissors, all the stuff, then cut it out, la, la, la. So it's, you've got to factor all that in. And so there's a lot of argy-bargy. But the problem would be you'd go, all right, I'll take that job.
And you've spent 20 years learning how to sew.
Yeah.
Why does it cost so much? Because I know how to sew.
Because I know what I'm doing.
And you don't.
Yeah. And this is where.
That's why it costs so much.
Yes. So this is where I ended up after 8 to 10 years of doing this. Like maybe a bit longer. It might have been longer than 10 years. But yeah, you do. You take on jobs that you don't particularly want because you've got nothing else. You commit. And then the dream job walks in the door, and you're like, "Fuck!"
You can't do the dream job.
Can't do the dream job because of these fucking pirate shirts. Or you take on both,
and then you're up at 2 o'clock in the morning sewing pirate shirts.
Yeah.
And if someone fucking comes in the house and goes, "How are you, Lyndsey?" You get up and then punch him,
throat punch him.
Throat punch him.
Yeah. So I had a home studio.
So what sort of money would you get for the pirate shirt? $1,000 bucks, couple of $1,000 bucks?
Yeah, probably something like that. But during that time, I got a lot of work with Luna Park in Sydney. That was really good. That was good money because they had a good budget. And again, I just would send my CV to places, and sometimes you'd get a response a year later. And Luna Park was one of those. They rang me and just said, hey, we've got your CV sitting here. Are you able to make us blah, blah, blah? And I did that. I went in, had a meeting with the chick. Or did I? No, I didn't go in there for ages. The first job, she sent me a bunch of pictures via email. I sent her back some designs. She was like, they look great. I quoted, did the job. And she said, oh, when will you be delivering them? And I said, well, I'm not. I've put them in a post pack. They should arrive tomorrow. And they did. And she was like, this is amazing. So I did a lot of work for Luna Park. A place in the city, you've probably seen it. I know lots of people have been in the Botanic Gardens. They have like Wind in the Willows every year. So I did stuff for them. So lots of things in between High Five.
Did you make all the Wuthering Height dresses?
No. Oh, actually, for the Wuthering Heights Day, yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yeah. But I haven't gone to that for a few years. But I did make some for my friends and I. Yep. Yes.
I thought you might have.
Yeah. But, so I did the costume thing for a long time. And then I was at High Five and I just was having another pivotal moment. Had a argument with a director over a pair of giraffe legs. Because
that's worth arguing over.
And at the time I thought it was, right? I was really angry because I'd been...
He didn't like your giraffe legs?
He had a different vision. For fuck's sake, you're not Quentin Tarantino. But at the time there was this new director came in and he was really keen on trying to do stuff. But I'd been doing my job for a long time by then. And I made these awesome giraffe legs. And they're kind of like stilts, so Kathleen could walk along. Anyway, he had this other idea and we had this argument and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I came home and I called in at a friend's place and I was going on, fucking, who does he think he is? Bloody giraffe legs. I know what I'm doing. Rah, rah. Anyway, I said to her, sorry, how was your day?
Which happens pretty regularly when you've got someone who's been in a role for a long time and you get someone who's just come into the new role and wants to turn it up and get excited and often you'll
I spent a lot of time on this. But that was quite normal in that field because...
So neither of you were wrong, but it was just...
Yeah. But look, when you've got a room full of creative people, there's lots of arguments, but they're healthy arguments and they're fine. So I came home and I was whinging and carrying on.
Can I ask which giraffe legs made it onto the show?
Mine.
Yours did?
Of course they did.
Because there's no one else to build them.
Yeah. What's he going to do about it? Go home and make his own giraffe legs? Come on. So I came home and I was whinging to my friend. And now the friend I was whinging to, I'm not going to talk a lot about what she actually does, but she works for her job is really serious. And she works with people who have had incredibly traumatic experiences and young people. And I'm talking the shit of the shit.
Yeah.
And she told me what she'd done that day. And we're not going to say what.
And you thought, what am I whinging about, giraffe legs?
It was the fucking biggest wake-up call. And I thought, do I really want to be arguing? Like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life? What the fuck am I doing? The amount of energy I've put in and care and how committed I am to this fucking pair of giraffe legs.
At the end of the day, it's
I'm not changing anything.
TV show.
So I decided then and there that I wanted to do something different. And I really liked working in dynamic situations. I liked working with people. And I saw an ad in the Blue Mountains Gazette for marriage celebrant course. I was like, I could do that. Fuck it. How hard could that be?
Is that
because I wanted to do something in the community.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I wanted to do something that was more important and more personal
than making costumes.
For High Five. As fun as that was, and as much as I love that I did that.
But it ran its course in where you were going and...
Not quite run its course because I still enjoyed it. But I felt I was probably 32 by this stage and I was like, maybe try something different. Maybe have a side gig. So I went and did the course.
What's that, like a one-day course?
No, it was like a couple of weeks.
Like
it's really legal.
All the legalities of
it's
marrying
really
people.
serious. Like, if you fuck up your paperwork and they're not legally married, like...
Yeah, it can have long-lasting...
And there's a lot of law around marriage, as we probably all are more aware of in the last few years with the change of that law.
Yep.
Yeah, because when I was a celebrant, it was definitely the union of a man and a woman, not anyone else. But there is a lot of laws, like ages, like, you can't have underage people getting married to...
There's a lot of checks and balances you've got to do before you stand.
You've got to be divorced if you're going to remarry. Like, it's got to, there's a lot to it. So the course was probably a couple of weeks. I mean, not, a degree by any stretch. It was, I think I went maybe 2 weeks. But there was, and then once you've done the course, then you had to get approved by the Attorney General. And once you're approved and you get your gig, and they don't just, it's not like you do the course and you get it. It's like you do the course, then you got to apply. And they deem you appropriate. They check your criminal record and all that stuff. And also if there's too many celebrants in your particular area, you might have to wait a while. So it probably took about 12 months. And I became a marriage celebrant on the side.
How many people have you married?
About 100.
Any marriages you went to and thought they fucking shouldn't be getting married?
So many.
So many. And it turned out to be later on?
Yep.
Have you ever made any mistakes with that where you've thought, these people shouldn't get married and then they're still together?
No. I don't know, because you don't generally see them that long after. There's a couple that I see occasionally wandering around that I go, oh,
I'm married. Oh,
they've got kids. Oh, I married some friends. So lovely couple, a girl that I worked with at Motley. Yeah, I was her celebrant.
Did you pass harsh judgment on the dresses as they came down the aisle?
Oh my God.
That's not fucking, what's it called, that cut?
Bias cut.
Oh, that's not bias cut. Who told you that was bias cut? They're lying.
So being a celebrant was just
How much
awesome.
you pay for that dress? You got fucking ripped off.
Because there's the gamut of the backyard weddings where it's just mum and dad want to just quickly get married. So they were some of the nicest ones. To those really bad, like you think Kath and Kim.
Yeah.
Bridesmaids
really,
with bra straps showing. Groomsmen with their Ray-Bans on thinking they're really cool.
What year was that?
So that's probably...
2000s?
No.
90s?
Yeah. Probably mid-2000s.
My son went to a party the other day and you know what he says? He comes up and says, Mum and Dad, what should I wear to a 2000 theme party?
No.
I thought, fuck off. A 2000 theme party? But you know what? That's fucking 2024.
Yeah.
In fucking 19...
Because in 2000, we were all going to 70s parties.
70s parties. But he came out and said, what should I wear to a 2000 themed birthday party for an 18-year-old? And I thought, fucking cargo pants.
I don't know. What am I bloody wearing now?
I actually exactly what you want. I chat GPT'd it and it said cargo pants and, and stuff like that. Yeah. Oh, Vans. So they're still around. Vans are still... It said wear Vans and that. But I just thought, when he said that, I thought... Fucking hell.
That's so funny.
We've just arrived at the 2000 theme parties.
Yeah. But my costume design friends thought it was wild that I was a marriage celebrant. And it was. It was hilarious. So I'd be at High Five during the week and then on the weekend I'd be, standing up at bloody Everglades, dressed to the nines, marrying people. And sometimes it was really fun. And it was crazy. Like, the wind would pick up and things would go flying, the drunk uncle.
Did you have the mobile battery-operated PA system that never worked properly?
No. So I didn't do the PA thing because I always felt I wanted everyone to come in so they could hear. And people get really nervous. And putting a microphone in a groom or it's just so naff. It's like, that's that word again. It's like they're not being interviewed for, the news. So I never use the PA because that's fraught with danger.
Well, they never worked properly. They were always like fucking.
And I always used to say to them,
feedback or something.
Yeah, if you're going to have music, just have acoustic. Like get a guy with a guitar.
Yeah.
You don't want to be trying to work out a CD or no iPods back then or Spotify. It was CDs. You don't want that shit. So I always used to make them do, or not make them, just suggest. But that wasn't really the celebrant's job. The celebrant's job is to get there a bit early, make sure the groom's not having too many because you can't marry someone.
Make sure the paperwork's, because if they're drunk,
they don't have competency and capacity. Yeah. make sure they're all happy, make sure that it is done voluntarily, make sure if you get a weird feeling like someone's being coerced, then you have to, no, can't do this.
Did you ever come across couples like that?
No,
Where you said
there
to
was
them,
a couple
on the
that
side you've gone to the wife, you're all right with this? Like,
No, thankfully. I think I wasn't that kind of celebrant. I think most people, at that time, I was quite young to be a celebrant. It was usually your middle-aged lady or bloke, but I was sort of in my early 30s.
yeah.
But I got to go to some really cool places. It's a real privilege to be part of that. And you know that you're going to be in their photos when they're showing their grandkids.
Yeah, so you've got to make sure you're dressed.
Yeah, and look, don't get me wrong, there are some that I look back in my album and think, Jesus, what were you thinking? Like, fucking hell. That skirt and top
Did
do not
Did
go.
you make your own clothes?
Some, yeah, but not many. But yeah, being a celebrant was a really good side gig, and I really found a lot of it was really satisfying.
Yep. Have you ever had any weddings where there was a no-show?
No.
Where the bride and groom didn't
No,
show up?
I had one where a guy passed out twice.
Because of alcohol or just,
No, I think he was it was weird because they were theatre people.
he was just so nervous?
Yeah, I think he was probably hyperventilating. But the first time he fell down, I just was like, right. And the bride started laughing. She said, please tell me someone got that. And I got him up and he was like, no, I want to keep going. Because I said, we can stop. We can do this later. No, I want to keep going. And then he hit the deck again. And I said, no, we're stopping. And I said to everyone out, sat him down, got him some water. And I said, this is the thing. I cannot do this.
While you're doing that, you need to dig deep, man. And
So I said, if you want to continue, we're going to cut a lot of it out. No bloody readings from the auntie, none of that shit. And you're going to sit down. And he was adamant he wanted to keep going. So we changed it up.
Did he sit down?
Yeah, he sat down. We cut a lot out and just did the basics.
Yeah.
And
Because all the other stuff is fluff.
it's just fluff.
There's only like a couple of lines that you actually have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ever have anyone pipe up and say, no, I disagree?
Oh, no, because we didn't know. I never asked that question. Does anyone?
That's not part of the law?
No.
See, I thought that was part of the law. You had to say that.
No. Because they've got to sign paperwork a month before and you've got to, so there's no get married on that day. It's just you've got to prove a month before minimum that this is your intention.
Yeah, there's a bit of paperwork to fill out, Yep.
So I generally meet them a year to a couple of months before.
That licence is lifelong, isn't it? Yeah,
no, I gave mine up when I joined this establishment.
So you just no longer pay the fee?
Yeah.
Is that how you gave it up?
So it is lifelong, but you have a yearly renewal and you have to do they have to go and do a couple of upgrades every year, like go in and do your
learn the new laws,
mandatory training kind of thing.
Obviously, when they allowed gay marriage,
there
would be an upgrade to that sort of thing.
So that was one of the reasons why I gave it up, because some of my very dear friends that I'd known since I was a kid wanted to get married.
And they weren't allowed
and I couldn't marry them. And I remember thinking, I married a couple. He'd met her on the internet and hadn't actually met her, and it was legally binding. She came over, signed the paperwork. I married them under the Harbour Bridge with the government's blessing. And yet I can't marry my two friends
that have been together for 30,
and paying
20
taxes
years.
in this country, and there's nothing untoward. And while I don't think there was anything untoward with that couple either,
you thought it was unfair that
it's so unfair. How can some chick from overseas come in and legally get married with our government's blessing?
And you've got friends that have been living together in a committed relationship for some time.
Some of those that I'd worked with at Motley, I have a lot of gay friends because of what I used to do. It didn't sit right anymore. So when I joined my current job, again, which is very different, as you know, I held on to that license just for the first 12 months just to see whether I was going to stick with this new job.
Yeah.
But yeah, it got to a point where I'm like, I don't really want to be booking people 12 months in advance.
Yeah, because it's high pressure too. Like I know,
you
I know
can't
you
call
say,
in sick.
I know you say I'm the celebrant, but fuck, there's that much riding on that day.
Oh hell yeah,
and there's
so much. If you fuck
planning.
it up,
it's so much planning.
You ruin $100,000 wedding.
Yeah, if you don't show up. What the fuck do they do? They've spent all this money, and the celebrant didn't show up.
So you can't get sick.
What if you got gastro or something?
Yeah, exactly.
You wake up in the morning with a vomiting bug. You're going to the wedding.
In those situations, you are allowed to ring around and get another. Like I had a celebrant ring me once and say, I'm really sick. I've got this wedding. Can you please? And I took her paperwork, blah, 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 blah. Yep, do it for her. But I never did that. I remember having vertigo once and going to the doctors that morning going, I need something, because imagine trying to do
I'm marrying someone
fucking vertigo.
Yeah.
You can't be hungover. You can't. You've got to look the part.
Your teeth have got to be cleaned.
Yeah.
So your breath doesn't smell.
But it got to that point where I'd be like, a lot of people get married in the afternoon. So it'd be Saturday afternoon, and you're just getting into that point where you're thinking, I'm going to put on a pair of tracky dacks, put the telly on.
Yeah, and your day's sort of ruined because you can't really do anything.
I'm going to put on a pair of stockings, a nice outfit, brush my hair, put some makeup on, get in my car, drive down or drive up, wherever I'm going, be there an hour before, make small talk with a bunch of people I don't know. And, it's great for everybody else.
They're having a great time.
Yeah, the bride's off having champers, who's going to arrive half an hour late, whatever. And the poor groom has no idea what the hell's going on because he's been present but hasn't paid any attention. And everyone's going up to him going, where do we sit? Where do we go? What?
He's going, I
don't fucking know. That's why he's having a few.
Did you ever book 2 weddings for the same day?
Yeah.
Because if someone shows up half an hour late and you're thinking, fuck, I've got to
I would always make sure
here, man.
They were really far apart. And usually you've booked.
I got married at lunchtime.
Yeah.
Because I have a disabled brother and it was easier for what he needed to get there.
Yeah.
And I actually thought it was pretty good, actually. The alcohol bill was fairly significantly less.
Yeah.
For the lunchtime.
But if I booked a second wedding, I'd always be really adamant, you are the second wedding. So if I'm half an hour late, you're just going to have to cop it. But these are the times. And I would always say to the first wedding, look, I have to be out by a certain time.
I don't even remember who our marriage celebrant was. Yeah. But I think we got married at 11:30 in the morning.
Yeah, and that's perfect. I love those ones because then you're done for the day.
Yeah.
But it is a lot of pressure. But it, compared to working as a costume designer, it gave me so much more. I felt like I was part of my community. I was doing something. It meant something to people. And if you can do it right, because I've seen bad weddings and I've seen bad celebrants and I've seen them going through the motions. But if
you need to be very personable, very happy, bubbly.
Yeah, and you need to create the environment.
Yep.
And
if everyone's looking a bit down.
Yeah, you've got to.
Sometimes you go to these things and everyone's not really sure. Are we happy?
Yeah,
You've got to sort of bring it out.
So it's your job as the celebrant to create the atmosphere and to
I couldn't do it.
Make sure everybody's involved and can hear and can see, set the tone, make sure people are not just happy but feel they're included, because just because you're up the back and you might be someone's friend who's been invited, you're still part of their day, and it's an amazing day. Having a wedding is one of the few occasions where you'll get all your family in the one room.
Yeah.
And it should be happy and everyone should be included. And if something goes wrong, it goes wrong. You've got to acknowledge it and move on. So if the wind suddenly picks up, you can't pretend it's not happening. Like I remember being up the hill at might have been Everglades or something like that. And obviously there was like...
Is that Lura?
Yeah.
I had my photos.
I did so many weddings there.
Yeah, I had my photos taken.
But a helicopter was circling, obviously looking for some lost bushwalker. And you can't ignore it. So I just made a joke about the paparazzi trying to photograph their wedding. And, everyone thought that was really funny. And then it became a thing. Hang on, we just got to wait for the paparazzi to go back again because it's their wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like big pressure. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
It's
but I loved it.
Even as a caterer or a chef or something, if you're doing a wedding, man, people expect really good stuff.
Yeah.
And you're getting judged.
Yeah.
You're getting judged massively. Yeah. And you'll be judged for the rest of the next 10 years.
Correct.
Oh, I went to Bill and Bob's wedding last week. Fuck, food was shit.
Food was shit, yeah.
Like, don't use him.
Yeah,
him. I used him the other week. It was the fucking best food I've ever eaten.
But it can also ruin their wedding. So you don't want to, and it's not so much the fear of ruining someone's wedding, but I would hate to think people thought I did a mediocre job at their wedding. Like I used to come with all the energy I could bring, really hype it up, really embrace it and you've got to build it up. So that moment where you go, you can now kiss your bride, it's not you can now kiss your bride. You have to build it, and then you go, and you can now kiss your bride. And everyone cheers. You want everyone to cheer. Not because you've told them to, but because they do.
Because you've got them all jizzed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that to me was
even if I was at a wedding where the celebrant was being like really, really overzealous, I'd probably think, oh, fuck, have a look at this crazy chick, man.
But also you
I'd
don't
still
wanna-
enjoy it. I'd still
Yes.
enjoy it. But if you were there like Dory Downer,
Yeah.
I'd probably think, oh, fucking hell, where'd they find
Yeah.
her?
But you've also, so it's that fine line between you've got to build it up, make it fun, get everyone to cheer.
not take it
but
away
not
from-
take it away from the bride and groom.
Yeah, too much pressure.
So I never stood in the middle. I would always stand to the side and have them standing together. So it's like a bit of a triangle type thing where the bride's in the middle, the groom's there, and I'm over there. Because the idea of me standing in the middle, it's not about me. I'm just facilitating. So
you're in photo albums all around the Blue Mountains.
I know, and
people's
Sydney,
weddings.
and I did a wedding on the top of Sydney Tower. You know how they have that glass platform? I don't know if they still do it. They have a glass
Yeah, I think
platform
they
you can
still
go
do it,
on
yeah.
and it goes out. Fucking hell.
Don't like
Scary.
heights.
Don't like heights. But they asked me would I do it, and I thought, yes.
Ever do a nude wedding?
No.
Would you do a nude wedding?
No. Someone said to me once, would you do a nude wedding? I said, I'd need a bigger book. But I did a wedding on like the paddle wheeler.
It depends on what age you are and when you need a big book.
Yeah, correct.
And if you're really young, you probably hold the book a bit lower.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
as you
yeah.
get older, you've got to like move it so that it covers it.
Everything.
You might be having it
Down
at
around
your
your
knees.
knees.
When you're 60, you've got the book at your knees.
Depends how many
no
kids you've
worries.
breastfed. No, I did a wedding on the Centrepoint Tower. I did lots on lookouts and rivers, and I did one on the harbour. The one that I was saying was the one that made me think. But that was really cool because I said, oh, do you want to have the wedding on the foreshore and then you guys all get on the boat? And they're like, no, we want you on the boat. We want this wedding under the harbour bridge. Oh, all right. I said, but you have to get me off the boat.
Got to give me a lift back.
Because I'm not spending the rest of the night on your wedding. Like, I don't know anyone. It's ridiculous. So they organised a water taxi.
Come and get you.
God, that was fun. Like getting off the boat onto a water taxi
My
in
daughter
heels.
went to Vivid, and she said the best part of the night
was the water taxi.
She paid $20 for a ride on a water taxi and said it was fantastic.
Yeah, because the
really
water
enjoyed
taxi
it.
waits there and goes, I can fit 6 people on. Everyone give me $20, and he just whizzes you around.
Yeah, she said it went around for like 20 minutes and had a really good time. Yeah,
because you see everything. So I was on this boat, and the water taxi arrived, and you got to climb down. And I was like, fucking hell, I'm in heels and a dress, and so get down. And I used to take my partner with me when I had to go to these places. And we got onto this water taxi, and it's like a bit rough. And this pregnant chick comes running over. She goes, are you getting off? I said, yeah. She goes, I'm going.
See you later, I'm going home.
Mate. She got on this water taxi with us. We helped this pregnant woman down. She said, I can't stay on that boat.
She saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
I can't
She
do
saw
another
her
4 or
exit,
5
right?
hours. Yeah.
So we sat her in the middle of this water taxi. Now, this guy, I don't know whether he was fully booked or what was going on. He fucking fanged it across the harbour. Oh, my God, it was so fun. I was like, woohoo. Wedding's done. Pregnant chicks barfing out the back. Celebrants at the front going, yes. It was so good. But that's what led me to my current job, thinking I want to do something.
The next level.
Well,
we don't have time, Lyndsey, to
talk about the current job.
We don't talk about the secret society that we work for.
That's where
this is the record interview. We just
serious?
We just
I'm
clocked
so
over
sorry.
2 hours, so this is going to be a double.
Oh, you're going to have to edit the fuck out
of
it.
Mate. That's what it's actually. I don't mind doing the editing.
Okay, cool.
I'm starting to get much better at it. And working out the shortcuts. But anyway,
I feel like I've had a therapy session.
That's all right. Look, you said at the start, I'm not that interested, and then you took a deep breath and then shut up for 2 hours.
Yeah, sorry.
That's all right. That's what it's all about, mate. That's why you're here.
But you're a really good interviewer. You're actually really good at asking that prompting.
So I always ask, we better wrap it up, and I appreciate the good feedback from you there. I don't know how to take good criticism. I don't take it too well. So thank you. I always ask the guests, end of the old fucking, got any advice to give out there? What would you give?
Just because it's scary doesn't mean you don't do it. But I also think...
you know what? Sorry, no, you have to give your advice, sorry.
No, I think my advice would be... I don't know if it's advice, but...
But you know what I'm going to call this episode? Lyndsey, why can't I?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and that's it.
That's got
but
you through a few doors in your life.
No. So my advice would be naivety is not a bad thing.
Yeah, and I guess because if you don't look too far into it.
If you think too much about it, you'll talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you think, like I remember saying to friends, I'm going to be a marriage celebrant. And they all kind of went, oh, yeah? Like, don't let anyone have friends that go, oh, yeah? Not friends that go,
Don't be stupid.
Yeah. And don't talk yourself out of stuff. Just give it a whirl.
Give it a crack.
Give it a crack.
I'm going to give you the cheer that we promised you.
Oh, woohoo!
I like that machine.
Perfect.
So thank you very much for coming, Lyndsey.
Thank you for having me.
I think the 2 hours was very interesting. I learnt some stuff about you that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know you that well.
Well, you've known me for 14 years nearly.
Yeah. Which is only a very small part of your life. Your mum's still alive, isn't she?
Yeah. We're going to England in 6 weeks.
Yeah, we didn't even get to that.
Yeah, and I didn't get to tell you about my cigarette butt ashtray that I was going to tell you about.
Because I remember when you said you're going on a trip to England, I was going to ask you about who you're going to see and all that. But we've ran out of time for this episode. It's already a two-parter.
Yeah.
So give the advice one more time.
I can't.
Fuck,
How
I can't
did I
remember
put it?
either.
I don't know. Just because.
Don't be naive.
Don't talk yourself out of shit.
Yeah, be a little bit naive. So when you walk into the room, think, why can't I?
Why can't I?
If you're looking around and all these people who might have done something, or you think, oh fuck, how can? Because it's just say, you know what? I've got just as much right to be in here going for this job as what they have.
And never, never, never be scared to change course.
Yeah, because it's done you all right over the time.
Yeah.
And bring back Australia's Wonderland. What a fucking roller coaster. And the pirate ship. I remember when I was 13 going to Australia's Wonderland, and I'd been talking up this fucking pirate ship for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I remember getting out of my car and I saw it, and I looked at my brother or my dad and said, I'm not going that. And I didn't go on
that was tops.
I didn't go on it. I didn't go on it the first time because I was scared. Second time I went on it. So.
Yeah, because it used to get sort of like, it was weighted, so it got stuck in the middle sometimes.
I was talking it
upside
up
down.
For weeks. I'm going on the pirate ship. No, fuck, didn't go on it. Too scared.
Fucking funny.
I know. All right, Lyndsey.
All right, thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
I'll shut up
now. Okay. See ya.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to another episode of East Coast Averages. Just want to say thanks to everyone who has liked, subscribed, rated, whatever you do on your whatever podcast platform you're listening on to the show. It's really humbling how many listens and how many downloads and how many subscribers I have to the podcast. I was secretly hopeful I'd get a fair few subscribers, but definitely, wasn't expecting as many as I've got. So keep on listening. Share it on your social media. Send me an email at info@eastcoastaverages.com. Go to the website. No guesses what it is. eastcoastaverages.com. You can buy a hat. You can buy a beanie. You can buy some nice artwork. Well, the artwork's not up there yet, but it's coming. So thanks for listening. Come back next week. I've got some good guests coming up. I went out for dinner last night with a guy I was in the Navy with. I spent a lot of time with the Navy and we had a good laugh, and he's coming over. He's going to do a podcast. We'll talk about what we got up to as young teenagers in the Navy. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I've got some other guests coming up. I've got some international guests that I've organised to chat to. So, yeah, watch this space. We're nearly coming to the end of this season because I'm actually going away, as I've mentioned in previous podcasts, in October for about 4 to 6 weeks. So, yeah, there'll be a little bit of break in what comes out. But like I said, I really appreciate you listening, appreciate the feedback I'm getting. And please, if you are so inclined, press subscribe, hit like, leave a rating. It does something with search engines that makes me podcasts get more impressions. And yeah, we'll talk to you next week.